And let me make a prediction. Because the ANC doesn't know what it stands for anymore, because it can't revert to principles, because it hasn't got any, believe me, in my lifetime, I will see that party die too.
Welcome everyone to another episode, and you are so free to join me as we are speaking about the cracks in the GNU. This partnership is totally not working at all. What am I talking about? I want us to look at some few characters. I want us to look at President Cyril Ramaphosa and the president of the DA, John Steenhuisen. I will come and talk about Helen Zille, Tony Leon, and their partnership with the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, and President Cyril Ramaphosa. So now the GNU is having some cracks. The ministers are fighting, and the policies of the ANC and the DA are just in conflict. You remember there was a conflict about the NHI bill that President Ramaphosa endorsed. Then there was a Bella bill, and now it is an expropriation of land bill, which the DA does not agree to it. But you know the sad part about this partnership was about to protect President Cyril Ramaphosa's presidency. It's not me saying it, it is Helen Zille here.
And most of the business community really wanted us to do one thing, and that was to prop up Cyril Ramaphosa and protect him from the EFF and the MK. That's what they wanted us.
So Helen Zille says that the mission of the GNU, most of the business community really wanted the DA to cover up for Cyril Ramaphosa, to protect him from the MK party and the EFF. So this was a pre-plan between these two partners, Helen Zille and Cyril Ramaphosa. Obviously, we know that Helen Zille was with Tony Leon, and John Steenhuisen was nowhere to be seen. And we know that Cyril Ramaphosa was with Fikile Mbalula. So the two of both sides are the ones who made this deal. But now seems like the problem has went from top and escalated down to the ministers. Now we have a conflict between Minister Motsoaledi and John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen is attacking Minister Motsoaledi of promoting the NH1, and it's just a conflict. And on the other side, the Deputy President Paul Mashatile has came out strong and attacked the ministers of the DA, and even said that President Ramaphosa has a right to even fire them. Let us watch this conflict here.
Government to do as they like. We are appointed by the president, we are accountable to the president, we implement the laws of the land. That's it. There is no two ways about it. If you want to raise his concerns, you must raise it with the president, but no one should go out in public and say, I'll never implement the law. That we're not going to allow. No, the GNU is fine. It's just troubled by some silly people. The GNU is fine, we're working very well, but from time to time, there are people who want to mess up. And the president must deal with them decisively. We can't allow this. It's important that we focus on the program we've agreed on as a government of national unity.
And the conflict does not end there. Now there's a conflict between Fikile Mbalula and John Steenhuisen and Dean McPherson and Sihle Zikalala. So you know, I'm mentioning a lot of people. It's Dean, which is the Minister of Public Works, with his Deputy President, which is Sihle Zikalala, says that there's a conflict. So what is happening? Let us start here. John Steenhuisen says that the Minister of Health, Arun Motsoaledi, has no respect and has declared war on the GNU. Motsoaledi to the world leaders in the World Economic Forum that he is fighting a war against the people of South Africa, who don't want their private medical care in South Africa to be destroyed. And that was the NHI policy bill. He says it is arrogant and deeply disrespectful. He's directing these words to the Democratic Alliance. So number 2, President Ramaphosa and the ANC, whether they like it or not, the stability of this government is the security of the president's own position depends entirely of the two largest parties to the government of national unity. So John Steenhuisen has given a threat to the president to say that the security of the president's own position depends on this GNU, of this collusion that the DA and the ANC partnership has. And what does Helen Zille has to say about all of this? Have you never heard her giving the same sentiment and saying that maybe threatening the position or President Ramaphosa's position to say that if he acts against any minister of the DA, there will be some consequences? Let us watch here.
He can do that and ignore the consequences, but he can't fire a DA minister without bringing down the government. And that is our power.
So it means that the DA ministers can put it bluntly now?
No.
Because he's the president of the country.
The blunt position is this.
Yeah.
We have negotiated the position of Minister of Basic Education for the DA. That's in the agreement,
yes.
right? And it would be untenable if the president said to us, we've negotiated that position for the DA, but the ANC will tell the DA who to put in that position. That's untenable.
But they could say, we don't want Kwahube.
They could say, well, we want Kwahube, and that's our position.
It's a deadlock. Yeah. You see why people are saying you are the prime minister?
No.
Because basically, his prerogative is gone where the DA ministers are concerned.
This unity is just not working. It's just over the year since they've been in partnership. If they are fighting now, then what will happen to the next 4 years? And the war goes deeper than that. Fikile Mbalula has come in defense for Sihle Zikalala because Sihle Zikalala has been being opposed and sidelined by the minister, because he is now the deputy minister. So Fikile Mbalula is saying that the DA minister is treating the deputy minister of public works and industrial, Sihle Zikalala, is a ball boy. Do you understand what is the ball boy? It is then who must carry his briefcase. So he's like a playboy. He's like a servant. He's like he's working for him. He can just carry his briefcase around like that. Balula say Dean McPherson must speak with him respectfully and stop running to the DA. So Mr. Mbak says that every time when there is just different ideologies or different approaches in the matters such as the expropriation of land, the Bella Bill and the NHI, he says that the DA minister, he's quickly to run to the DA, and now that brings a problem to his deputy and the ANC as an organization, and he has urged that he must not do that. He will need to consult with his president, which is President Cyril Ramaphosa. The DA minister needs to consult with the president of the ANC. Let us watch what Mr. Mbaks has to say here.
I think Sihle is representing what we as the ANC support. And Dean is just being out of character. He must talk to his deputy. He cannot chastise the deputy minister. That's why the debate now degenerates about qualifications and all of that. Because the way he speaks to Sihle is like, Sihle is what is this? A ball boy who must carry his briefcase wherever he goes. And because he's a minister, he sits in cabinet, the deputy doesn't have an opinion. I was a deputy minister one time in government of a minister of the ANC. We're both from ANC. And this minister wanted me to be like a ball boy. I told him, no, I'm not here. I'm I've come here to play my role. So Dean must speak to his deputy. in government, and they must talk. And he cannot think that every time he faces a difficulty, he must run to the DA. No, he must talk to the deputy in government, and then they must face each other there. So that's what is important, rather than running to his party and shouting from outside when he's got executive authority. He must deal with that matter properly and quite maturely in government. It's very difficult in the GNU because you account your party and you come with the mandate of your party in a very, very difficult terrain. So he must resolve issues maturely in government and talk to ministers. If they is not going to behave, then the chief executive officer of the republic, which is the president, who's driving the cabinet, will have to intervene and will urge the president to intervene and deal and bring order.
So talking about the DA, so now John Steenhuisen says something very surprising and shocking. He said something to say he has written a letter to see President Ramaphosa for him to just address some of the situations and maybe the fights that are happening between the ministers. He said that he has sent some letters a couple of times and his letters are not responded to. He says that he has never sat with the president and they're just sidelining him like that. And he's saying that there will be some consequences because if they can pull out, things will go bad for President Cyril Ramaphosa. You see, where is the problem here? The problem is that the people who struck the deal of the GNU, it was Helen Zille and Tony Leon, which were urged by the white monopoly capital to say that be in partnership with the ANC disregarding the policies of the ANC and the conflict of interest to some of the ministers and how the ministers report and they do their job. So now they overlooked that and came up with a plan to protect the president. And Ramaphosa welcomed this plan because it protects him. This plan has bribed the opposition party to side with the president to an extent that if the president does anything wrong, Helen Zille has declared that even when it comes to Phala, they will never ever vote against the ANC to impeach the president. Meaning they agree now with the ANC in everything that the ANC will be doing wrong, except when the ANC tries to change some policies or implement some policies like the NHI, the Bela Bill, and the expropriation of land. So now what is happening is that John Steenhuisen was not invited to the discussion because he is not in charge. The people who were in charge from both the ANC side, which is Fikile Mbalula and President Ramaphosa, with Helen Zille and Tony Leon, they made this deal, right? And this deal now is affecting the people on the ground, the likes of Aaron Motsoaledi, the likes of John Steenhuisen, the likes of Dion, the likes of Sihle Zikalala. So the ministers are fighting now. And when they are fighting like this, it's not looking good upstairs because the roof may be standing, but the ground is just not stable and the house will about to fall. And if the DA walks out, you will see the end of President Cyril Ramaphosa. And you remember what Helen Zille said about destroying the ANC. Do you remember? And she said that that will happen in her lifetime. Let us watch here.
And let me make a prediction. Because the ANC doesn't know what it stands for anymore, because it can't revert to principles, because it hasn't got any, believe me, in my lifetime, I will see that party die too. But believe me, no one would ever have said in their wildest dreams that within my lifetime the National Party would be gone. And it is.
So the Deputy President Paul Mashatile says, Mr. President, if these ministers are not respectful, fire them. But do you think the president will fire them? No, because the president knows that once he fires the DA, as it is a major political party coalition party, he will lose the vote to defend himself against being impeached and the ANC losing the majority. Right, so the DA has been used as a proxy to fight President Ramaphosa's war, while the ANC has been used by the DA so that they gain ministerial position and reverse some of the things which were gained by the previous administration back in the hands of the white monopoly capital, back in the hands of business who have urged them to work with the ANC so that they will control some of the key stakeholders of government as a leverage for business to control power in South Africa.